Rusty, welcome back to Archers of Horror, the podcast where we watch every horror release from Arrow Video. Today, our film is Hellgate, which was really a piece of shit.
I'm still suffering from watching that. I thought it was going to be a really fun film.
Yeah. I found a review on horrortalk.com by a guy, and he said that it had a Rocky Horror Picture Show style quality. And would you agree with that?
Absolutely not. I love Rocky Horror. I don't even feel like this film is in the same caliber as like The Room.
That's life.
It's not unintentionally funny. It's just bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. And there's some scenes that I think when we talk about them, we'll think, oh, wow, that was a pretty crazy scene.
Just take me home.
With pleasure.
But like while it's happening, it manages to be pretty boring and mundane.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I'm going to grab a cup of coffee. Could you put $10 in the tank?
Before we go on, our new theme, that cover of the Blood Rage theme, which, Rusty, you discovered on YouTube by Matt Akers. Good new track to lead off the show.
Yeah, I love it. Where can we listen to his music?
Bandcamp, and I'm pretty sure that he has an album coming out soon, but we'll get more data on that as it becomes available.
Awesome.
And when I remember what I was going to say. So Hellgate, let's just start at the top. This movie was shot in South Africa with one American actor, and you can totally tell it's not America.
And you could probably figure out which actor is the American very quickly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like every single actor, like before, I didn't know that it was shot in South Africa at first, but I was like, something's weird about this. And every actor, I was like, are they really American? And then he comes on, and I was like, okay, this is the one guy.
I am a real American, fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American, fight for what's right, fight for your life.
Were there moments where you had to rewind just to try to figure out what the hell they were saying?
Yeah,
because there was moments where I was just like, that didn't make sense. What words were they using there?
My name's Josie.
My name's Matt Coleman from LA. Hi. Actually, I'm from the Valley.
And sometimes when they would enunciate, they would do it in like a weird way where I'd be like, but they asked a question, but why did their voice do that?
Look, do you guys want to hear the rest of my story or not?
Well, I was kind of hoping it was over.
Well, it's not. Well, you see, there was this man, Jonas, worked for Lucas, kind of like a caretaker, looked after the place.
This feels like a movie like someone owned like a Halloween haunt, and they were like, hey, we're closing down. It's like after Halloween. Like, why don't we shoot a film? And like that, this is the film they'd make.
Did you think any of the special effects, without actually specifically naming them yet, were good?
I do. I thought a couple of them were fun, but we'll get to those in a second.
Fun and good are two separate ideas, but I know.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know that Arrow Video only produced 1,000 of these Blu-rays?
Yeah, and we have 2 of them. So think of our retirement right now.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna be burning mine after this episode.
No.
Rusty, do you know that the director of this film, William Levy, also directed Jean-Claude Van Damme in the film Monaco Forever, in which Jean-Claude played a character called Gay Karate Man.
Yes, he gave Jean-Claude Van Damme his big break. He also gave a few stars their big break.
Tell me more.
Little actor by the name of Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, I know him. He's a good friend.
Deborah Winger.
Oh, wow. Deborah, in what?
Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney his big break and his triumphant return.
He did not give Mickey Rooney his big break.
No, but he did make a horse film with Mickey Rooney. I can't imagine what that's like.
I'm talking about something that really meant something. That horse, the stallion, the white stallion.
So, Hellgate, Rusty, I'm going to try to see if I can sum up this plot really quickly.
Yes.
It's the first thing to say about it is that I think it accidentally has a weird structure. Like, doesn't this film have a weird accidental like Pulp Fiction structure? Like,
it does, but can you explain that a little more?
It begins with 3 friends who are telling spooky stories in a very awkward and bad scene.
Every scene's awkward and bad, so it's not really.
Yeah. But here I just want to get into one quick thing. Why okay, so there's 4 people in this movie who are the 4 friends who have a great adventure, and they're always wearing the same clothing. Did you notice that? Did you notice that Chucky and what was the other girl's name?
His girlfriend, Bobby or Pam? Pam was Matt's girlfriend.
Yeah, Pam. Chucky and Pam, why were they wearing the same exact color?
Were they wearing red?
Yeah, they're both wearing red. Like in that opening scene, it's like they're both wearing the same color red, and like it seems like they're members of a cult, and the other person isn't. I'm just like the whole time I was like, why would they be the same color? Anyway, that is really the least. Hold on, it's gonna die real quick. That's really the least of this film's problems. So, okay, let me try to encapsulate this story incredibly fast. It opens with some people telling a spooky story about a girl who was assaulted and murdered by these bikers.
Strangers.
Her dad becomes obsessed with revenge and luckily, incidentally, manages to find a crystal that brings people back from the dead. It also kills people. Actually, the powers of this crystal are all over the place. So the dad goes totally insane, raises the daughter, creates like a weird ghost town. While they're telling this story, their friend who's meeting up with them comes across this ghost town and like enters that same story. Then he like emerges out of that story, meets the friends who then return to that story. It's, it's accidentally structurally interesting.
And it's pretty lighthearted even when people are dying. So
lighthearted in a way that doesn't understand how to do that successfully.
Exactly.
Because it's just like it's the people's reactions to the thing are really weird, and hard to know where to begin.
Even the timing of the obvious jokes are weird.
Oh yeah, everything about this movie is weird.
So out of place.
So out of place.
And I think part of that is because a lot of the cast were non-English speaking.
Oh yeah.
So they really didn't know what they were doing.
There's so many times where sentences are enunciated weird, or words are like what one time when they're like, "What are you doing, Bobby?" But it's like, "What are you doing, Bobby?"
Yeah, go on, Bobby.
One trope in this film that I'd like to just point out from the outset is the use of license plates.
Oh yeah. I noticed them too.
The use of personalized license plates to advance the story.
Are you referring to the Chucky one?
Oh, every car has a different personalized license plate that plays some role. For instance, the hero of the film was introduced with a license plate that says "The Hero."
Yes, that's true.
The guy whose daughter is killed, who raises her from the dead and is obsessed with her, her name is Josie. His license plate says Josie.
Mm-hmm.
The character Chucky, his license plate says Chucky. And then there's another old-fashioned car which says Set Shop, which was like, did they just not change that one from the prop? Did they just not change that one from the prop house?
Didn't you feel? I know I'm jumping around or jumping into it, but didn't you feel that some of the sets were in somebody's garage, like the diner?
Oh yeah.
The ghost town itself seemed like it was made of cardboard.
Yeah, the ghost town was pretty unimpressive. The diner was.
I think High School Musicals do better set designs than what we saw in this movie.
I was about to say the diner totally felt like High School Musical.
You know what the other crazy thing is?
Yeah.
The scenes, because we jump back and forth, like you said, the Pulp Fiction feel, where we jump back and forth between the 50s and present day 80s. And in a 30-year span, the ghost town, the diner, the gas station, nothing changed. Even like the posters on the wall were still the same.
Yeah, they didn't make any effort.
No. So it was kind of hard to tell where you were.
Where am I? You're in a Johnny cast.
As far as cast goes, you mentioned the 4 teens or the 4 college kids. What other characters of relevance are there besides the ghost girl, Josie, and her father, Lucas, who is the mayor of the ghost town?
Yeah.
The fictional mayor.
Yeah.
And then you got the strangers, which is the biker gang.
Stranger.
Yeah. But was the biker gang called the Strangers?
Yeah. That's why he hated strangers. See, that was the thing that I misinterpreted, because when he no longer trusted strangers, I think they meant he no longer trusted anybody in the biker gang, strangers.
Oh, I couldn't tell if it was the biker gang was named Strangers And then he just couldn't stand anyone that was a stranger at that point.
We have our own interpretations.
He hated all strangers.
What did you think of the cast? Is there anybody that specific that jumps out? I think we could save Ron Palillo for a moment because there's a lot to say about him.
Well, I mean, that was the only person I was going to mention, so I don't.
I would like.
I don't know why. What are we saving it for?
Well, I wanted to talk about Josie.
Oh, okay.
Played by Abigail Walcott.
Yeah.
She was a model touring Europe and was presented to William Levy, and he hired her. But the crazy thing is that he didn't learn his lesson from Skate Town USA. And I don't know if you know, but Dorothy Stratton was in Skate Town USA.
Yeah. Wow.
And she was a former. You know who she is?
Oh, I know that. Yeah, very well.
Okay. So you have the Playboy Playmate of the Year?
Yeah, who
was murdered.
Yeah, I recently watched Star 80 on the recommendation of somebody. Because I remember Ebert's review of it saying it was like horrible, but recently having gotten into all that jazz, and it's like a Bob Fosse movie, so I was like, so I watched that, and that's a hard film to watch. But so go on.
Well, the murder of Dorothy Stratton's a pretty crazy story itself.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's I'm trying to remember what there's like the definitive article about it that I can't remember if it's Rolling Stone or what it is, but it should be pretty easily found. Anyone that likes true crime, read that article.
But anyway, so she was in Skate Town USA, and originally she had 7 pages of dialogue, which when William Levy saw that she couldn't really act, he cut it down to 7 lines, and then he just cut it down to 1 line repeated 7 times.
And what was the line?
Want a date? Going out? Looking for some action? Need some company?
He didn't learn his lesson because Abigail Walcott certainly could not act. And she had a lot of difficulty delivering any kind of dialogue.
Yeah, it was very rough.
Her introduction, her first fucking line in the movie. How many times did you have to rewind to understand what she was saying?
Wait, what was her line?
I wrote it down, and I tried to write it down in the way she said it, but she says something like, "Hi, honey, do you have apple pie ready that I ordered for my daddy?"
Yeah, she. Yeah, I wrote that down somewhere.
Hi, honey. Do you have that apple pie ready that I ordered for my daddy?
Did you feel like that she kind of looked like Pris from Blade Runner?
Oh, yeah, totally.
We scared each other pretty good, didn't we?
You know what this movie has that was really annoying?
What's that?
Even more than it's not cranberry sauce.
It's not cranberry sauce, Artie.
Even more than that, they try to force something, and I didn't even get it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is it the asshole line?
Yeah. Like, what was that? Like an inside joke that the director felt like the world had to experience?
You know you're an asshole.
He is an asshole.
You're an asshole. You really are. I mean it.
We mean it.
All right. So the only other person on the cast I think to talk about is the big star of this film, Ron Palillo, who was in Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah, he was the star of, besides John Travolta, he was Horseshack.
A lot of roles over the years for Ron Palillo. He was also in Darkwing Duck, did some voices in that.
Sorry, Lucifer, but I wouldn't be caught dead down here.
Yeah, he was also in Skate Town USA.
Oh, I did not know that. He was also in Friday the 13th, Part 6.
And probably the most famous, besides Welcome Back, Kotter, his celebrity boxing match with Screech Dustin Diamond.
Really? I think I missed that.
You don't remember that from the 2000s?
No, I remember
when that spectacle happened on TV.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. What happened with Screech?
Oh my God! Like it was set like obviously they had like the freak show like celebrity matches like Manute Ball against Refrigerator Perry. But so they paired up a 50-something Ron Palillo against Dustin Diamond, who was obviously bigger and probably stronger. And Ron Palillo was under the impression that it was just going to be like playful and fun and like kind of like a charity thing. And Screech did not hold back and just clobbered him and bloodied him up. And Ron Palillo was pissed.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I watched that live, or not live, but when it first aired on Fox.
I mean, I could see Ron Palillo being pissed. He's definitely more of an artist.
Yeah.
He directed plays such as the West Palm Beach version of Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, really? Did he go to that?
Do you know? No. Do you know that he illustrated some children's books and acted in quite a bit of regional theater?
Did you know that he passed away?
Yes. He passed away August 2012.
There's no way you knew that offhand. There's no way.
I do. I remember. And his last film was A Doggone Tale.
Did you know that he was openly gay back in the day, going way back?
I did know that, and it is very clear in this film as well. He seemed viscerally uncomfortable in like the love scenes.
Well, for some reason, they put him in a scene where he's completely naked, sitting on top of Pam.
Hey, baby, how about a ride?
Do you know that Ron Palillo was the voice of the Rubik's Cube in a short-lived cartoon about the Rubik's Cube that was on after Pac-Man on the Saturday morning lineup?
Rubik's hot dog not hot either.
I totally remember that. That's actually much more interesting. You should open with that fact.
Do you know that Ron Palillo was the voice of the Rubik's Cube? Rusty, did you know that Erno Rubik? Rusty,
yes.
Did you know that Erno Rubik invented the cube?
Yes,
and he's still alive.
Yeah, he's still making millions.
Do you know it was originally called the Magic Cube?
I don't know. Probably. I'm going to say yes.
No, it was. And the toy seller made him change the name to Rubik's Cube. So anyone out there who says Erno is an egomaniac, that's probably not accurate. Do you know that the Rubik's Cube, Rusty, do you know that the Rubik's Cube is the most popular toy of all time?
Really?
I know you thought it was the Power of the Force Han and Hothgear figure, but it is actually the Rubik's Cube is the best-selling toy of all time.
Really?
Yes.
How many more fun facts do you have?
I've got a couple more about Erno Rubik. Do you know he admits, this is directly from his Wikipedia, this is an exact quote, he admits to being a lifelong bibliophile. He loves books. Rusty, do you know that he is an avid gardener? And this is a direct quote. Collecting succulents are my favorite pastime.
I feel like this has to stay in.
Erno is.
Are you reading this right now, or did you actually know this?
Erno, it is. I've known this since I was born.
I love it.
I love the Rubik's Cube cartoon. I fall asleep to it every night.
Hello, my name is Rubik.
Didn't Ron Palillo kind of look like Lindsey Buckingham from the Tango in the Night album? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, he did.
I fall down, I get up. I am what I am, a family man.
It's so out of place. It's like putting Seinfeld in Halloween.
That is really, that's a good analogy. I like that. I think we should start with the opening scene.
A beautiful young girl wanders the mountain road leading to the old ghost town of Hellgate.
All right, so the opening scene, we got, Matt's not there yet. Matt's played by Ron Palillo. We got Chuck, Bobby, and Pam sitting around in a cabin telling ghost stories.
Yes.
Good Lord, what story was Chuck trying to tell?
It's one of those things where when a scene starts and someone is like finishing up something, you have to make it seem a little real. Like he's finishing up a story and he's just like, he chopped off their heads. He ate the body. It's like not even it's clearly not a real story.
Oh, Chuck, stop it.
So what else happens in this opening scene that's just so out of place?
Chuck makes a reference to When a Stranger Calls. Is that the name of the movie? With its famous line, check the children.
Right, of course. Like the babysitter with the maniac in the house, huh?
Have you checked the children?
And I don't know if this should stay in, but I don't know if I ever told you this story. One night I went to a party but it was not like it was like a Wednesday night. It was like a release party for something. And at this party, it's such a hard story to tell. At this story, me and my friend Pablo consumed some ecstasy, which put us in quite an amazing mood. But we ended up like standing on the corner of like Sunset and Fuller, like with nothing to do. And it was like 2 a.m. It was like a Wednesday. And I was like, there's got to be a party. There's got to be somewhere we could go, dude. And Pablo started texting people, and Pablo was like, oh, I found a party. He's like, it's this actress I know, like, and she lives like right in this building over here. I was like, oh, I can't believe our luck. This is such great luck. So we go to this party, and when we get there, it's the actress and 8 gay guys. And the actress immediately is like, okay, see you guys later. Have fun. And it's just us and the guys. And one of the guys is like, hey, do you want to see my film I made? And we're like, yeah. And he puts on what is just a remake of the opening scene from When a Stranger Calls.
And they remade that, I believe, right?
They did, yeah.
So it's a remake of the remake?
It is a remake of the remake. But the funny part of the story is that he hadn't yet sound edited it. And so it was his voice when the stranger would call, and he'd be like, check the children. Check the children. And she's like, why are you calling me? He's like, hey, check the children. Check the children. Anyway.
Why haven't you checked the children?
Yeah, so the story that is told in this opening scene is what sets up the whole, motive of the antagonist and puts the whole film into motion, basically. And this is where Josie, the daughter of the mayor, is murdered by a biker gang who are called the Strangers.
Now, when you say murdered, it seemed like it was almost accidental because it was kind of her father that intervened and wound up getting her killed by throwing a hatchet into one of the bikers' heads, and then he drove the motorcycle into her.
Yeah, he drives the motorcycle into her, and something that kind of reminded me of like Hard Boiled, or like like they used to do that a lot in like John Woo Hong Kong movies of that early period.
I know. What is the doves flying past as that happened?
No, there's no doves. There were no doves.
No doves.
When I thought there was going to be a sexual assault, I was like, oh, this is getting so horrible. I started looking at my phone, but then I realized I was Googling ISIS. I was like, what's up with ISIS? I was like, I haven't heard about them in a while. And I was like, that's what I'm doing to avoid looking at that. That's just a metaphor for my life.
Do you know the flashback, when it goes into the flashback and the biker gang's riding into town and there's the like doo-wop song playing? The song is called It Happened Today by the Skyliners. And the funny thing is, before I watched the movie, earlier that day, my dad mentioned to me that his favorite band, one of his favorite bands growing up was the Skyliners. And he liked that song, It Happened Today.
That's a sign you need to kill your dad today. Your dad needs to die. He has to be sacrificed. I'm sorry. I wish I could stop it.
I knew someday you'd come my way.
There's a couple scenes that really stand out. And I think the diner scene is probably, there's a couple diner scenes that stand out, but I think one of the first ones. Now, the story takes place, or this part of the story takes place in the 50s. And like you said, the strangers show up into town and they walk into this diner.
Yeah, the strangers come into the diner. The strangers come into the diner and they're just like, yeah, and they just start like messing with everybody. And I was like, that'd be so funny for us to enter a place like that someday.
Hey, get out!
Well, it's funny because obviously you want to convey them as like scofflaws, and like you have to make them do something completely like questionable and like objectionable. And the first thing the guy does when he walks in, he grabs the guy's soda on the table and chugs it and then pours it over the guy's head. Like who does? I don't think like the meanest biker gang would just do that.
They come in so provocatively.
But then the other thing is that one of the biker gangs, remember like when they're like feuding with each other over, because the guy orders tea and they're like making fun of him. But like the other member, to prove that he's like tough, eats like the glass ashtray.
Yeah, but he, like the way he holds it up to his face, it looks so weird.
It's a big thing of rock candy. But even the way that the biker gang talks, like everybody just sounds so weird.
It's very true.
Do you remember like when one of the biker guys pulls a knife and the leader's just like tells him, he's just like, you guys need to settle down.
Settle down, boys.
And then we already talked about Abigail, but she walks in and they immediately just attack her.
Yeah. And then the owner of the diner pulls out a shotgun and he appears to be the only one armed, but allows them to just take her out of the place anyway.
He just wanted them out of his establishment. He didn't want shit to go down in his place.
Yeah, he was like, whatever you do outside is fine.
He's just like, to show you guys I mean business, I'm going to shoot up one of my tables, but you guys get out of here. Take the girl. Yeah. Get out.
That kind of shit don't go down in here.
Do you remember the other biker gang member, Zonk, who reappears several times in the film?
One of the weakest subplots in a film I've ever seen. Zonk's revenge. Oh my God, Zonk's revenge.
Didn't he look like Brian Bosworth? Remember that guy?
Yeah,
that football player turned actor. I was just like, could that be Brian Bosworth? I had to look that up, but it was not.
You got to clean up on aisle 4.
Zonk.
Tell me about Zonk.
when they go back to the center of the town so they could attack the daughter in front of the father's house, I guess.
Yeah. Wait. Can I just interject something very quickly?
Yeah.
When they kidnapped her, why did they bring her to the father's town?
Yeah, they were like, we're going to kidnap her. We're going to drive her to the center of Main Street, and then we're going to do what we do. Then when Zonk is wounded by another thrown blade weapon, he drives off on his motorcycle. And the whole time I was like, why are we seeing this shot? Is he going to fall off? Like, what is happening in this shot? And then Zonk thinks about getting revenge, but doesn't until the very last scene when he appears just for a second and then is immediately killed.
What the fuck you think that is, Beverly Hills?
I did like the buildup as he's like forging his weapons.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple scenes that are just like spliced in where he's like forging a knife. And what was his other weapon of choice?
I don't remember.
But he shows up at the end, holds up his 2 weapons, and then immediately gets killed.
Yes.
I don't talk about that. I don't never talk about that. You come here and laugh at me? You think it's funny?
Now, we have our introduction of Matt, but I don't think he meets Josie yet, right? He gets lost driving up to the cabin.
Yeah, he first goes to the diner.
Well, he meets Zonk first, and that's just a weird interaction.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He goes to the diner and he's asking directions of the waitress who he's having like a very flirty thing going with.
Well, she's flirting. He's not.
Oh, yeah. She's flirting so hard. And it was also weird how Rampalillo gives the cash to the waitress and he's like, hey, can you give this to King Kong for me?
When the interaction wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. Like, why would he put that on her instead of just going to do it himself?
Yeah. Do you remember her first line when she comes out from the back and she sees him? And immediately she's just like, hello, big boy.
Yeah.
Hello, big boy. You want it hot? And black?
Excuse me?
I mean the coffee.
Oh, the coffee. Sounds great.
So then the friends, meanwhile, while Rampalillo is having this weird diner experience, the friends are continuing the story about what happened next to Josie's dad after her death. And we join the mining town, which is a novelty ghost town again.
Mm-hmm.
But since the highway was diverted from this like tourist trap, the ghost town is in its waning days.
Is this the most bizarre scene to you, or
This is the most bizarre scene to me because so the first thing that happens is one of the actors, I guess, goes into what they call a mine display. It's not a real mine, right?
No.
And
he's like the caretaker.
He goes, but I just don't understand why it could have been a real mine. That would have made more sense. Instead, he goes into a mine that, tourists visit, and with no effort finds a magical crystal, and a bat flies at him. The fakest bat ever. Even if you have a rubber bat and you have a bat on a string, you could choose shots that don't make it look quite as bad as this did. I was like, why would that be the shot you would do of this fake bat? It looks like as bad as possible from this angle. And we've mentioned our friend Eric on this podcast before. We used to have haunted houses in his basement, and they were a lot more effective than the bat in this.
Didn't that mine display kind of feel like something in a Brady Bunch episode? Like, didn't you just expect Vincent Price to be lurking in there?
Now you think about it while I go reheat my bean.
Yes, it was very fake. So the miner, he encounters this bat. He gets frustrated. He kills the bat, and then the crystal zaps the bat and brings it back to life. And Jonas, being a loyal employee, brings this crystal to the mayor.
Lucas, yeah.
Lucas.
Now, I don't know if you're going to agree with me, because aside from Ron Palillo, I think the character of Jonas, he might be the best actor in the film.
He at least had some personality. He comes into I keep forgetting the guy's name.
Lucas.
Josie's dad's name. Lucas. He comes into Lucas's office.
What are they trying to convey with what he's doing in his office? He's playing with trains. He's staring at a picture of his daughter.
Wait. It opens up, like, I think they just wanted him to move so the camera can move. Yeah. It opens up with he's looking at a train set. Then he turns and the camera follows him, and he goes to look at a portrait of his dead daughter. Except that the portrait of his dead daughter, you're probably imagining like an oil portrait or something. It just seems like a blown up modeling headshot. It is incredibly out of place.
Just to remind you, that portrait would have been done in the 50s. And what year did that look like that portrait was done? 80s?
Oh, 1985, 86?
That was a real headshot of the actress Abigail Wolcott, since she was a model.
Yeah, so they put her modeling headshot as the thing that this guy's going to mournfully look at in the 50s.
So it doesn't fit the scene. It looks so out of place, that portrait.
That is as bad as it sounds.
He's the creepiest dad.
He really, not since Louise Lasser in Blood Rage has there been a more complicated parent-child sexual relationship.
This is not healthy for you. It's not good for you.
So how does it come to be that Lucas gets hold of this what is it called? The Resurrection Stone? The Stone of Life?
Both of those things make it sound like more of an established thing than it is in the film. In the film, it's just like it's the other prop they have that does whatever the story needs it to at that moment. Be it shoot lasers, make people explode, bring people back to life, kill people. So in this scene, Jonas shows him the stone and explains everything we've just seen about how he saw the bat annoyed him, and Lucas is immediately like, oh yes, this is exactly what I need. Knowing that the stone is a resurrection stone which brings people back, the first thing he does is point it at his goldfish, which is alive. And I thought they were going to point at the goldfish and then kill it just to bring it back. But instead, the goldfish is transformed into like a huge, like sea, like a, not a huge, it becomes too big for the bowl. It becomes like a monster. That was the only kind of fun effect, I thought.
It didn't look good though.
No, it didn't look good. Then he resurrects a sea turtle, which he's got on a plaque.
I think it was just like a boglin on the table at that point with the goldfish.
Yeah, the goldfish becomes a boglin basically. And then when he reanimates the sea turtle, this is to me one of the funniest things about the movie. Are you ready for this?
Hit me with it.
One of the defining characteristics of the antagonist is that he's got this metal stuff on his face, like kind of giving him like a, like a Cable from New Mutants feel, like he or Kano from Mortal Kombat, or choose your own metal-faced person.
Hello, baby. Did you miss me?
But he receives these wounds because he reanimated a sea turtle and fell on it, and then it bit him. Couldn't those wounds have more organically come from the scene with his daughter, where he received the wounds that caused his arm to be severed? So instead, this guy just has like the battle scars of two separate incidents.
How did after 30 years did his wounds not heal, where he still had to have metal like riveted to his face?
Look, I don't know the technology involved.
I mean, you've seen World War I photos where they've done better jobs with people that had part of their face blown off. They couldn't do something for him.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he was in a pretty remote place, I guess. He only had the actors in his novelty ghost town to help him.
How did poor Jonas wind up dying? Did he get zapped with the stone, or did he get attacked by something?
He got zapped with a stone, which zapped him
right?
under. It seemed like it was under his own power. It just chose to zap him, but it was like, I got to leave Lucas alive because the script says I need to leave him alive.
He suffered the same fate as the Hitler character in Bionic Commando. His head just blew up.
Oh my gosh. Everyone remembers where they were when that happened.
My name is Jonas. I'm carrying the wheel.
Rusty, did you notice when whenever the dad would look at a photo of his beloved dead daughter, it wasn't enough that we were seeing him look at a photo of her. Another circle would open where like video of her would happen.
I did notice that.
They never trusted you to be like, okay, that's his daughter. He misses his daughter. Instead, it would cut to like a flashback of the daughter within the portrait itself.
She was always wearing very sheer clothing. So is that how his daughter was remembered?
Oh, well, he definitely was sexually attracted to his daughter.
Imagine having access to this film as a kid.
Oh, yeah, this would have been...
That would be like the Ark of the Covenant, man. You would have been... But you would have been like fucking Gollum sneaking into your room with that.
As a kid, I would have remembered the exact like time codes of like the nudity, which would have been a better viewing experience than this one was.
Come inside, just for a little while.
Not to get too far off topic, what was your Hellgate of your childhood?
I know exactly what to say. And this has to stay in because I've never told anyone this.
Oh, I like this. Exclusive.
This is an exclusive. My Hellgate were the sex scenes in Dean Koontz novels.
What?
So he always would have sex scenes in his books.
Wait, you didn't even have a visual?
I mean, eventually I got to the point of having visual, but for years, these Dean Koontz novels were like my sexy material. So much so that I could even tell you Whispers, the book Whispers, pretty sure that sex scene was between page 240 and 243.
Wow.
Twilight Eyes was between 110 and 113, I think. And I remember that the protagonist ends the scene by unleashing ribbons of cum, which Dean Koontz describes as glistening in the moonlight on like the supple breasts of the female lead. I would always revisit these books from time to time until eventually I was consumed by shame. I tore the pages out and threw those pages away.
Sewer? Are they in the sewer somewhere?
I don't think I took those to the sewer, but I think they just made it to the regular garbage.
There's an alligator somewhere that has like a nest of Dean Koontz pages.
There, yeah, because Rusty's referring to the time that I threw some pornos in the sewer consumed by Catholic guilt.
Wait, how old were you when you had Dean Koontz novels?
I started reading them I started reading Stephen King in 5th grade, and by the mid 6th grade I'd read everything, and Dean Koontz was like the cheap version, you know?
Yeah, of course. Did you understand all the references?
No, not at all.
Okay.
There's plenty of stuff I didn't understand. In fact, in the scene in Whispers, where after the main sex scene, there is like a follow-up blowjob scene where the female lead is like telling the guy who's like the detective that she's going to give him a lie detector test. And she's like, rod A goes into socket B, and she starts like blowing him. But I did not understand exactly what was happening there. But I was like, but I find all the innuendo to be hot. So, and it's, just especially when you're young, you're like, blowing must be involved, but I don't know how.
I wanna kill you. I wanna blow you away. I can do it to you gently. I can do it with an animal's grace. I can do it with precision. I can do it with gourmet taste. But either way, either way, I wanna kill you. I wanna blow you away.
Do you remember when Ron Palillo actually escapes? It's the scene where Josie and Lucas are together, and she said that she wanted him.
I wanted him. I really wanted him.
And the way she says it, it's so weird.
Yeah.
But at this point, like, I was trying to think, what's her end game? What does she want him for at this point?
She wants to kill him and then have him be her ghost lover for the rest of time. That, I have to give that to the film. That was actually clear. That's on you that you missed that.
Because they kept setting it up that she was so vengeful, and
yeah, it seemed way more that the dad was vengeful. Yeah. But the weird thing is that his thirst for vengeance would make more sense if he didn't have his daughter back. Like, he resurrected his daughter, so man, get over it.
Stranger, kill the stranger.
Rusty, can I point out something that is going to rock the whole community?
Yes, please do.
Do you know that there's a cameo in this film by the actor Paul Dano?
He must have been about 6 years old.
Nope. He is the same age he is now, and it's fucked up because he must be some kind of vampire. In the scene when the friends are stopping the diner on their way to Hellgate after Matt has come home Matt comes, meets his friends, tells them what happened. Mm-hmm. They decide to go investigate, and they stop at that diner again. And they come in and see a person, and they go, "What a baby face!"
Oh, such a baby face.
That guy looks so much like Paul Dano. Is it Dano or Dano?
Paul Dano.
Whatever it is, it looks so much like him that it's kind of weird.
I can see that.
So, okay. So what do you want to say next about this piece of garbage?
How random and out of place was the Chuck and Bobby sex scene.
Yeah, the Chuck and Bobby sex scene comes at it. Like, it's weird because it seems like it starts piling like some sex stuff on top of each other, but it's just have like one better one than a bunch of like little bad ones.
I don't know why I'm rubbing your back. I'm the one who's tense.
You know what was another weird one? The other sex scene where Matt and Pam.
Oh yeah.
Were they finishing having sex? Because he was like sitting so high up on her that there's no way his dick could have been inside of her.
I'm not sure if they were supposed to be finishing having sex or if he was just giving her a massage, and that was kind of the joke. Although she does say, "Do you want to do an encore?" So I guess they were having sex.
Yeah. But their after sex chat was insane that they were talking about his experience with Josie. And of course she was like interrogating him to find out if he was attracted to her.
Yeah. The dialogue is so unnatural.
Well, did she have a nice body?
It was nothing to write home about. It was all right.
All right.
Yeah. It was okay.
Okay.
Not bad.
Not bad.
But not as good as yours.
After they're talking about Josie and his attraction for her, but she just like tells him to assume the position.
Mm-hmm.
And he like goes like,
"Yes, sir." Down scope. Oh.
Obviously simulating oral sex, but you don't see any of that. But her eyes immediately go cross. Like, who does that happen to? How's that funny?
That was so hammy. I feel like they must have she must have demonstrated that she could cross her eyes in a really crazy way. And then the director was like, "Oh, we're working that in. That's great."
And that's the story.
The whole story?
Yeah, the whole story.
So the friends are just on a collision course for Hellgate. Matt tells them, he's like, "I don't know why, but I got to go back and see about this girl." and they decide to tag along with him.
But before they get there, for some reason, Matt has a hunch and he has to revisit that gas station where Zonk works. And do you remember the Zonk fight scene?
Yeah, Zonk starts attacking him and Matt goes,
Can we talk? Oh, Jesus, look at this.
Look, I want to know what happened to you up at Hellgate.
Zonk's reply, he's just like, I don't talk about that. I don't never talk about that. You come here to laugh at me.
And then Zonk waits until they've left to be like, don't go there, when he could have warned them about it immediately.
Yeah, he said that you're going to start it up again or start all over again. But like, what's he referring to starting up again? Because Lucas is already active.
Yeah, it seems like it's been going all the time.
Yeah.
As the waitress in the diner says, they say like, hey, have you ever heard the story about this hitchhiker and whatever? And she's like, have I ever? Most of the people here have seen her twice in the last 30 years. But I'm like, that's not that much though. Twice in the last 30 years?
If you're playing a trick on me,
I'm not.
Nobody believed me. First they said I killed Buzz. Then they said I was crazy.
There's one scene in the movie I actually think is a good scene. And it's helped by the film's incompetence. So they're walking through a graveyard of cars where the parking lot is filled with like classic cars that it doesn't make any sense that they'd be here. And as they're walking, a zombie grabs Bobby and she pulls away and she's like, something grabbed me. And they're like, what are you talking about? Then it cuts back to the zombie and he's just behind the wheel and he's just laughing for like way too long. And it's just such a weird edit because you're like, are they seeing that? Are they hearing that? What's going on? Or is it just going to cut on this? What's happening? And then it cuts back to like a wider shot where then all the cars' headlights come on and they all start driving and all these people pop up from in between the cars and they all start just coming at the leads. And actually that felt cool. That was a cool moment.
Yeah. The only thing that's weird about it is why Bobby stopped when they were walking through the car graveyard and she just stops for no reason.
Oh yeah, she stops so it can grab her. But then they take Bobby. Bobby's so traumatized. They take her and they put her in like a bar.
Yeah. Is it the bar or the playhouse? It was something.
Yeah, whatever it was. This is where the MC appears, and it kind of feels like a better movie for a second. It almost feels like Lynchian weirdness.
Yeah. What does the MC say? It was hard to understand, but he makes a couple of those like old-timey jokes.
We got some lovely ladies for you tonight, direct from Gay Paris. Do you know the difference between a girl from Gay Paris and the Eiffel Tower? Not everyone's been up the Eiffel Tower.
You know what's funny though? When they first come into that space, there's a player piano going, and they're like, "Oh, Bobby, don't worry, it's just a player piano." It's like, but you already have established that that's a town full of ghosts, so.
Although they seem naive to it, though. They like kind of walked around completely oblivious because there was a few scenes where like the ghosts were slowly, like the zombies were slowly popping out of places, and like at this point it was just like Matt and Pam together, and they were completely unaware.
Yeah, it feels strongly that they're in a Halloween haunt and are being haunted by like paid actors of this haunt, and they're not noticing them at first.
You know what scene I did like though when Lucas calls like. Where he shouts so loud that everybody would have heard him that was there, but he shouts and like all the zombies start walking towards the camera. And it definitely had a feel. It seemed a little bit like Carnival of Souls, the end scene of that. and also the Twilight Zone episode, the Mr. Garrity in the graves.
Sounds great. I wish I remembered it.
Devil's work.
Black magic is what it is.
It is not black magic and not devil's work. It is the application of scientific principles, which I have picked up over the years while traveling exclusively in the Himalayan mountains.
Can I tell you about one of the stupider moments in the film?
Chuck's death, I'm guessing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan was for that.
So here's what happens. Chuck has left the keys in his car, and Lucas sneaks up and sees this. He takes the keys, walks a little bit, and then throws them down in the dirt. His plan, of course, is exactly what ensues, that Chuck looks for the keys, eventually finds them, and then bends down, at which point Lucas emerges, grabs a sign, and then beheads Chuck with the sign, which is inexplicably sharp. Which was just weird because it seems like he grabbed the sign because he needed something, but it also seemed like he had laid this whole trap. He's established as having like all these machetes and stuff. Why wouldn't he have some different weapon?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
It was like he planned that whole moment down to the guy bending down, but he didn't plan on having any weapon and grabbed the first available thing, which luckily did behead the guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm getting tired, but plus Chuck did exactly what he wanted him to. He walked over, slowly bent over, picked up the keys, turned around to Bobby and showed that he found the keys. So this whole thing like worked out perfectly, and yet Lucas didn't have a plan except to grab a sign.
It really seems, yeah, it seems like they must have lost one of the props, and they were like, "Well, we got to shoot," and he's like, what if I grab the sign?" And they're like, "Fine, do it."
I was thinking, why didn't he just use the crystal? Like they didn't use the crystal enough.
I think the best you can say about that moment is that it's Suspiria logic, as I said earlier, but I don't really think it was intentionally dream logic.
Damn keys.
What about the damn keys?
They're not there.
Well, where are they?
Just pass me that flashlight. I'm gonna go find the keys.
Completely weird scene of the cameo by the director inside the refrigerator in the
oh yeah,
Josie's house.
Yeah, Pam opens the fridge
and she finds a head,
and
he just says,
"I ain't got my body." It's kind of like that song, but he does it like just a little different enough that you're like, is that supposed to be the song?
And then Pam's just like, pull yourself together.
Yeah, Pam's already adjusted so quickly to this world that she's just like being sardonic to severed heads.
She's looking for real estate in Hellgate. She's so used to it.
I don't want my body.
Pull yourself together.
And finally, the end scene where Matt once again is entranced by Josie, kind of forgets all about Pam, thought she went home. And Pam walks in on them with a shotgun for some reason.
Yes.
And
the movie's just falling apart at that point.
Oh, yeah. But Lucas walks in too. So all the characters are there. We have the climax. We have Matt, we have Lucas, we have Pam, and we have Josie. What happens? I think Lucas just throws Pam. He has the crystal in his hand too, and he just throws Pam to the floor.
Yeah.
But what happens to Lucas? He doesn't. How does he get out of the room? I already forgot this.
Yeah. All I know is that he ends up on the roof of the car, not unlike in the film The Mutilator, which I now have a much greater appreciation for.
Oh, with that end scene is that they leave. Pam and Matt wind up escaping from Hellgate, and they drive off in one of the cars. And it's clearly night, and then you see the next scene of them driving down a road, daylight. Nobody's on the roof of the car until they do a close up inside the car, and then all of a sudden, Lucas is on top of the car, and they made a full circle, and they're driving back into Hellgate.
Yeah, and it's also established that the distance they traveled, where it went from night to day, is really, really close. It's just up the road. But what a film. Rusty, would you recommend that anyone watch this film?
If you have a bunch of friends over and you don't want to pay money for anything, but probably not. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I'm still trying to recover from this one.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine why Arrow chose to do a special edition of this movie.
I'll leave you with a fun fact, though.
Okay.
Did you know that William Levy considered himself a whiz as a film editor?
I did not know that.
He was a hotshot known around. And Orson Welles seeked him out to edit one of his short films, which was Sentinels of Silence, I want to say.
I've never heard of it, but I'm not an Orson Welles expert.
Anyway, so Orson Welles finds him and says, like, can you do this? Can you edit this film for me? I hear you're really good. You're one of the best up-and-coming editors. I think that's exaggerated. Mm-hmm. But he says, I need this done overnight. So he has to edit from scratch his entire short overnight. And he said Orson Welles came in the morning and he was just sleeping. And Orson Welles is like, what are you doing sleeping? Why are you not editing this film? He's just like, I finished that hours ago. And Orson Welles was so amazed by that he was able to edit that short in just a few hours.
Wow. This just made me realize something big.
What's that?
Orson Welles ended up living with Peter Bogdanovich. I think at first Peter Bogdanovich, when he was like riding extraordinarily high, he had like a mansion, and Orson Welles like lived in the guest house. And I might be wrong, but I think then there was a period where Peter Bogdanovich was down on his luck, and there were roommates in like a shitty apartment, which would be a good TV show. I'm not positive about that part, but Peter Bogdanovich had dated Dorothy Stratton, which is what the ex-husband found out about and killed her about, right? Or it was one of the stressors. Yeah, it was one of the stressors in the relationship. And this guy directed the movie that she was in. So maybe that's how he knew Orson Welles, right? Didn't he direct the movie with Dorothy Stratton in it?
Yes, Skate Town, USA.
Wow. So that is a Hollywood connection that, wow.
That Scooby-Doo mystery was much better than the mystery of Hellgate.
Oh, yeah. It's funny, Scooby-Doo, because it does kind of have the most humorless Scooby-Doo kind of adventure that is still trying to be funny and failing.
Come on, Mad. Get in the Jeep. There's no time.
Come on, Pam. Come with us.
I really don't think so. Come on! Go, go!
That about wraps up this episode. I got to say, this was a hard one to do. Hellgate was a hard movie to talk about. And we need to get some guests on here because I would like to make other people suffer through something like Hellgate.
By the way, did you know that I'm on Instagram now?
Really?
So you can put that in the link.
Put that in the link.
Put the link at the bottom of the description. Man, my brain's not working.
Let me just say, all I've got in my fridge right now is William Levy's head.
I don't want my body.
It's over. He's dead.
Usually at the end of episodes, I'm like, oh, now I finally know how to do it. I wish we were still going.
Mhm.
This one, I'm like, I never want to speak again.
Josie!